Hello everyone, today I'll be reviewing Saving Private Ryan. So Saving Private Ryan came out in 1998 and was directed by Steven Spielberg, and this film stars Tom Hanks, Edward Burns, Matt Damon and Tom Sizemore, and this film is based around the Normandy invasion during World War II. So at the start of this film kicks off with the assault on Omaha Beach during World War II, and then we later get a squadron of 8 men led by Captain John Miller, played by Tom Hanks. And these 8 men, they have to find Private Ryan, who is played by Matt Damon. And Private Ryan is a character who is the last surviving brother of 3 guys who have been killed in action during the course of this war. And the whole film basically follows these guys trying to find Private Ryan, and obviously since it's set during World War II, they encounter a lot of obstacles on the way. So right off the bat, we have the opening scene in this film, and the opening scene in this film is incredible. It's probably one of the best opening scenes in movie history, I would say. It is amazing. We as the audience are thrown straight into the action. Everything is noisy, everything is loud, there's gunfire going everywhere, and this is the Normandy invasion. This is the beach assault on Omaha Beach. The scene is incredible because it really does such a good job of showing what it was like to be there during this historical moment. It is a giant mess, really. There is people are dying all over the place. Gunfire is going everywhere. It really is absolutely crazy. We see most of it is from the point of view of Tom Hanks's character, Captain John Miller, and there's actually one point where he gets there where he can't hear anything. He just hears a ringing in his ears because of all the gunfire and the noise that is going off and the bombs and everything. And he's looking around at everything that is going on and taking it all in. And there'll be people walking around who have had their arms blown off, who are walking around, and there's people dying right in front of him. It really is a very powerful scene and sets up the tone of this film very well for what is to come later on. So in terms of the acting in this film, I think it is brilliant. We get lots of different characters. Really, most of the film, we're following these 8 characters led by Tom Hanks's character, Captain John Miller, as they try to find Private Ryan. And we get some other guys. So Tom Sizemore is also very good. We also get Jeremy Davies. I think he plays a very good character. And we get actors like Giovanni Ribisi and Adam Goldberg, who are maybe not the best known actors, but they have been in lots of other stuff over the years. And we also get Vin Diesel appearing in this as well, although his appearance is fairly brief. And we get a few other actors who appear quite briefly, like Ted Danson and Paul Giamatti, who don't necessarily have large roles, but still notable enough anyway. One of my favourite characters probably is Corporal Timothy Upham, who is played by Jeremy Davies, because his character hasn't been in combat before, so a lot of the other guys in the squad, they're sort of making fun of him a bit and sort of look down to him, even though he's actually a corporal. And we get several scenes throughout this film where Timothy Upham, you can tell that he's deciding on how to act and what to do. And I would say he has 2 key moments in this film. He has a moment where he makes a mistake and he realises it, and then he has a moment afterwards where he sort of gets his revenge and has his comeuppance and decides that that was the right thing to do after all. Obviously, I don't want to spoil the film for you because there are lots of bits in this film which are very important to the plot. It would be bad for me just to spoil it, but basically, once you watch the film, you will probably understand what I mean. Now, what this film really does so well is show a realistic portrayal of war. And lots of people have actually said that this is one of the most realistic war films of all time. It really does make you feel like you're actually there and give you a sense of what war is all about. Now, this film was nominated for a few Oscars. It did win the Oscar for Best Director for Steven Spielberg, and it was nominated for the Oscar for Best Picture, but it did not win the Oscar for Best Picture. It actually lost to Shakespeare in Love, and this is actually one of the most controversial Oscar snubs of all time, or considered one of the most controversial anyway by lots of people. I think it's amazing that Steven Spielberg directed this, because Steven Spielberg has done so many great films over the years. We've seen him start off to direct films like Jaws and E.T. and the Indiana Jones, and then he goes and does Schindler's List, and then follows up with this, Saving Private Ryan, which really shows that Spielberg as a director is capable of directing a very diverse, a very big range of different films with different tones and different meanings. And in this film, he really doesn't hold back in showing that gritty, realistic portrayal of World War II, and does a very good job, in my opinion. So I've actually seen this film a few times. The first time I watched it was actually when I was at school, and I thought it was absolutely fantastic. Another time I got it on DVD and I watched it, and recently, obviously behind me, I had the Blu-ray of it, and I watched it the other night, and I loved it even more. It was just as good as I remember it, if not better, and I think it probably is one of my favourite war films of all time. There are lots of other war films I like, but given that it came out in 1998, it's still, well, it's not that new now, but it still is recent enough that I think of it as a more modern war film as opposed to one of the war films that came out in the 50s and 60s. So in terms of the war films that came out in the last 30 years, I'd easily say it's one of the best, if not the best. So I really would recommend this to people if they haven't seen it, and if they are a fan of war films, it is an absolute must-see. There are so many powerful scenes throughout this film, but one of my favourite scenes is actually right at the end of the film. I think is one of the most impactful moments. It's a moment where it's a character moment. It's where you get a moment for two characters really, but particularly with Tom Hanks's character, Captain John Miller. Tom Hanks is obviously a fantastic actor, but he gives a fantastic performance throughout this film, and I think the scene at the end is probably his best scene. So I just think it wraps the film up very well. And without spoiling anything, this film has bookends. So it begins in a certain way and then ends in a certain way, which I know is probably quite a vague statement, but once you watch it, you understand what I mean. And it really puts the whole film into perspective and wraps it up really nicely. So overall, I think Saving Private Ryan is a fantastic war film. I think it is definitely worth a watch, if not just to show what it was like during the Normandy invasion of World War II. This really gives a very accurate, very realistic depiction of that event, and also makes for a very excellent film and a fantastic watch. I will say the film is fairly long. It's about 2 hours 50 minutes long, so obviously do give yourself enough time to watch the film before you start it, obviously, but it is well worth that 2 hours and 50 minutes. Every second of it is fantastic. So for that, I'm going to give Saving Private Ryan a rating of 10 out of 10, because I think it's one of the greatest war films of all time. So there we go. So that is Saving Private Ryan. So what do you guys think? Have you seen Saving Private Ryan? Did you like it? Did you dislike it? Please let me know down in the comments what your thoughts are. Anyway, thank you all very much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.